Now, we do have to talk about another thing here. Only you can fight Sigmas. What's a chud to do? Let's see here. This doesn't need to be a whole segment, but another element that I kind of liken to this corruptive element of our politics is the fact that the insurance industry, like a group of insurance industry CEOs, can put pressure on the Department of Justice to take up a federal case against one guy. You know, like, this seems bizarre to me. Like, how can private citizens just phone up the Department of Justice and be like, you got to put a case against this man? Like, that seems like something that shouldn't be possible. That seems like something that should not be acceptable in our system. And yet here it is, you know? Like, this story here, health insurance industry leaders leaned on the U.S. Department of Justice to prosecute accused United Healthcare CEO assassin Luigi Mangione. And, like, to me, there's a difference between the Department of Justice choosing to take this on and the Department of Justice being, like, strong-armed into taking it on. That shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a mechanism of our justice department where, like, local business leaders can get a local DA to prosecute someone just because. You know? Like, that seems weird. And it seems even weirder on a federal level. You know? Let's see. I want to know what they did. Sources told the Post that the federal charges came amid pressure from health insurance industry leaders to make an example out of Mangione, though it was unclear what specific entities petitioned the DOJ. A federal prosecution could be inherently harsher than the parallel state case leveled by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for one simple reason: only the feds can put the death penalty on the table, which is very specifically why they did this, by the way. You know, like, there's something deeply sick and wrong in our country when a bunch of health insurance CEOs or industry leaders can just phone up the Justice Department and be like, "Hey, you need to make an example of this guy by killing him. We want you to bring a federal case against this guy to get him the death penalty." That seems wrong. Like, you know, you can argue about the specifics of the state case, but what he's facing there is a maximum of life in prison. Having a bunch of 100 millionaires or even billionaires call up the Department of Justice and basically say, you better get him in a courtroom facing the death penalty, seems to me like a deep miscarriage of justice and an indication of a deeply flawed and sick system. And like that, it really is that simple. Like, I don't have a more in-depth take on this. This is just corruption. This is just government corruption. If you're a Republican and you happen to cut across this segment, it is the swamp that Donald Trump is not at all interested in cleaning up. It's even worse when you consider that statistically the death penalty has pretty much not been proven to be a real deterrent. Life in prison is not really considered to be a real deterrent. You know, a lot of the things we do in our criminal justice system doesn't actually deter crime and doesn't actually prevent recidivism. But, like, our criminal justice system is not based upon, like, you know, churning out people from prison who are successfully avoiding going to prison in the future. You know, like, it is supposed to just be cruel for, I guess, the enjoyment of not enjoyment, that's the wrong word. Satisfaction, or I don't know what the word. I guess vengeance is kind of the word, right? It's just vengeance. It's not. I should be able to torture and kill the person who wronged me or who wronged my family, and that's not really justice. At least not in my book. Yeah, I was thinking Schadenfreude. I wasn't sure if that was the right term, one hand wonder, but maybe. Yeah, that's the other thing, Paladin. The federal charges are much more likely to be able to find people who are hostile to Luigi Mangione. you know, business leaders are scared that if they don't make an example out of Mangione, that people may get ideas to target them next, not fearing any legal repercussions. Okay, and I know a lot of people have already made this point, but we got this guy over here. We've got Don Voltaggio, who owns the Arizona Iced Tea Company. They charge 99 cents for those big ass cans, right, of iced tea. And I just want to point out something, okay? I was like, oh yeah, this guy's probably like he's a modest millionaire. He's refusing to raise the price on his drink. I found out that this guy is actually a billionaire. um, the Arizona iced tea guy is actually a billionaire. What was his actual net worth when I looked it up? Let me just check real quick. Don Voltaggio. Net worth. Yeah, he's worth $5.6 billion. And he refuses to raise the price on his drink, right? Dude's like, I already make way too much money off of this. I don't need to raise the price on it. So like, and one thing I do respect about him is that basically he and his partner started the Arizona Beverage Company out of like Brooklyn, New York, and then just like grew from there. And literally, as far as I can tell, the only reason he is worth that much money is because the Arizona Iced Tea Company or the Arizona Beverage Company, like, sells cheap iced tea that people like. And that's it. I don't think he has, like, all of these other investments or anything like that, as far as I can tell. Back in, like, 2015, he bought his partner out for $1 billion, so he has, like, sole ownership of the Arizona Beverage Company. And, like, he looks at that and he's like, I don't need to charge more for it. And I gotta tell you something. On a systemic level, I'm against billionaires, right? But there's a reason why that particular billionaire can walk down the street every single day being like, yeah, nope, nobody wants to come assassinate me. And it's because it's because he's not making life or death decisions. It's because he's not, like, killing his employees. It's because he's not screwing over his company, over his customers. Like, that's why this billionaire CEO is not feeling like he is in any danger, because guess what? Oh wow, okay, I didn't actually know Arizona iced tea went on sale. So you actually got your Arizona iced teas for 75 cents a pop. That's crazy. I can't even get a bottle of water for 75 cents here. And it's just like, and I'm not here to hold up like, oh man, this is ethical. Like, he could probably pay his employees a lot more money than he does. But this is, I think, I think this is an example of kind of like a Bob's Red Mill situation, where this guy could sell the Arizona Beverage Company to the workers, and it might be like one of the biggest democratic worker co-ops of all time. I would love to see that happen. But we'll see. That being said, there's a reason why that guy can walk down the street with his head held up high and not worry about being recognized. Because when people recognize the CEO of Arizona Beverage Company, the company that makes the Arizona iced teas, they're just like, hey, it's the iced tea guy. Whoa, that's so cool. Thanks for making a delicious beverage that we all enjoy. Like, that's it. That's it. And just to contrast it real quick, there was an interview that went up about a week ago on Democracy Now! And I guess we'll turn this into a segment, but Amy Goodman interviews, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time, Amy Goodman, interviewed a New York City man who was denied life-saving drugs by United Health. And it's an astonishing interview.
Lie. This is Democracy Now!
Take a look here, if we can.
Now, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, appeared in a federal court here in New York Thursday after being extradited from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested.
Also, can we just take a moment to really emphasize that the court illustrator really intentionally did Luigi dirty here. Luigi Mangione, by the way, is like just can we just get a good comparison picture here? They made him look ugly. They did, and it's very clearly on purpose. Because I'm trying to find like a good image to use here that would demonstrate what I mean. Yo, Paladin, thank you for the 5 gifted tier 1 subs. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, here, we'll use this image from Sky News. Okay, like, this is from him in the courtroom, by the way. Like, I just gotta say, this, I'm not seeing the likeness. The court image makes him look like he's like a 50-year-old man who's seen some shit, you know?
Prior to the court appearance, Mangione was seen in Lower Manhattan being escorted from a...
Also, it was quite funny because he and his lawyer wore matching outfits, and it is quite funny to look at pictures of the two of them side by side in that court appearance. It's very... I laughed real hard when I saw it the first time.
Helicopter by the FBI, by the New York Police Department, and New York Mayor Eric Adams. He's been charged with first-degree murder, second-degree murder.
Yeah, because we all know they needed this many cops on him because he was so cool, right? That's, he's like a supervillain that has the support of the public. He's just too cool to only have a normal amount of escort.
An act of terrorism for fatally shooting Thompson on the morning of December 4th as the CEO was walking to United Health's annual investor conference.
No, they act like he's a guy who's escaped prison like 12 times before, leaving a trail of dead bodies in his wake each time. And like they're expecting him to like do some kind of now you see me magic to just like bamboozle his way out of this one.
A newly filed federal complaint has revealed new details about a notebook Mangione had at the time of his arrest. According to authorities, it, quote, contains several handwritten pages that express hostility toward the health insurance industry and wealthy executives
He does have one of the best like criminal defense attorneys currently working in the country, is my understanding. So like, I have a feeling that the state case is not going to hold up super great, especially when it comes to jury selection. But the federal case is an entirely different beast. We'll see how that one goes. I'm worried. I'm more worried about how that one's going to go.
In particular, in a separate manifesto,
Did I hear about
Mangione
Costco?
wrote,
Yeah.
quote, "Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder: the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system."
Oh, it ate your text-to-speech. I'm sorry. You said Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller were invited to be part of the hedge fund, part of a hedge fund manager. Vonnegut pointed out to Heller that the rich man made more in a month than Heller made ever. Heller responded, "I have one thing he'll never have enough." That is true. You know, like, there are, I don't know, like, there's a certain amount of money where you just never need to worry about your material needs ever again. And like everything after that is just kind of like, you can do a special, you can do your special interest bigger and bigger and bigger, you know? And like, at a certain point, just, you know, you need to recognize that, like, oh yeah, I don't need $2 trillion. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but I was infuriated the other day because I was reading an article about how these massive AI companies that run ChatGPT or OpenAI and stuff like that, or Stable Diffusion or whatnot, are asking for like the most money anyone has ever invested into anything. And like, I can't think. And we're also looking at how like this has the potential to like shift climate change because of like the massive needs of these data centers that are required for AI. And it's just like, I have to be honest with you guys, I can't think of a single thing that AI has ever done for me that makes my life better. You know, I can't think of a single thing that one of these large language models that they're trying to bill as like the future has ever done anything that improves my life. Outside of it being like a kind of a fun little toy, like when we did like an AI Dungeons and Dragons game and we had ChatGPT play transgender Karl Marx. That was fun. I enjoyed that. But is it worth killing the planet? Not really. Not really. Like, what I see is just a massive poppy boom. You know, it's just a South Sea bubble, but it's with AI. Like, they can't actually materialize any benefit. And all of this AI is just being shoved into our browsers, into our computers, into our phones. And like, I try and turn off all of the AI features on my phone. I can't. It doesn't even allow me to turn it off, and I hate it. Oh, sorry, I meant the tulip boom. Yes, sorry. Thank you for the correction. A poppy boom would have been too much fun. You are not familiar with the opium wars, my friend. Are we in the Black Mirror universe? Yeah. Anyway, for people like, you know, the investor class driving AI right now, there is no such thing as enough. There's no such thing as enough.
In the world, yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy, he wrote. According to investigators, Mangione had written the words "deny, defend, and depose" on the bullet casings used in the assassination. The killing of the United Healthcare CEO has brought renewed attention to the practices of the health insurance industry, and especially...
Oh yeah, I mean, like, large language models are exceedingly dumb right now, and they're bumping up against the sum total of written content that exists. You know, like, they are, and not only that, that's including all copyrighted content. I feel like there's a lawsuit brewing that's going to puncture this bubble, and I don't know when that's going to drop, but like, we're getting no benefit, and it's infringing on the copyright of untold millions of people.
United Health Group, which made $22 billion in profits last year. We're joined now by two guests here in New York. Elizabeth Benjamin is with us. She is Vice President of Health Initiatives at the Community Service Society of New York. She's co-founder of Healthcare for All New York campaign. And Kevin Dwyer is with us. He's a cystic fibrosis patient who's written about his battle with United Healthcare after he was denied life-saving medicine. You're a family of 7 kids?
Yes, correct.
4 of you have cystic fibrosis,
Correct,
Kevin?
yes.
So talk about what happened to you.
Well, in 2012, there was a new
Yo, Logic, can you post that over on our Discord? Just like a scrubber program for AI shit? That'd be amazing.
medication that came onto the market called Kalydeco. It was a game-changing medication for cystic fibrosis patients. It, instead of just treating the symptoms of the disease, which is previously that's all we had, it actually started to work at the root cause of cystic fibrosis.
So this guy is basically saying, hey, I suffer from this condition that can be completely cured if I have access to this new medication.
And the defective gene. It was only for one specific mutation out of thousands of mutations for cystic fibrosis. I started to do research about the medication, about the specific gene, talked to my doctor. My sister then went and tried to get the medication.
And she get it?
And she got it, yes. I then went ahead with all the same information because we have the same gene, and I was denied by United Healthcare.
She also had United Healthcare.
She had United Healthcare,
United
yes.
Healthcare approved her prescription.
Correct. They denied her at first, and then she had to go through the appeal process. And at the appeal process, she got approved for the medication.
Well, you're looking very good now. I don't know what that means,
yes.
but so explain what happened, because you were not doing well after you were denied.
No, I was not. I was at a point in my health where it was starting to decline, and it was declining rapidly. At the time, I was probably about 30% lung capacity.
This is why people hate health insurance companies. If you've been having trouble wrapping your head around this, this is why people hate health insurance companies. His sister, with the exact same genetic condition as he had, was able to get life-saving medication through her health insurance. He, with the exact same coverage and the exact same condition, was not. And he was dying with 30% lung capacity. And as someone who only has 60% lung capacity, 30% is fucking crazy. Yeah, I can't imagine what existence with only 30% of like your lung function would be. You know, I have 100% lung function right now, and like I still get winded doing stuff, and it would dominate your entire life, your entire existence. And to be told that the cure to your condition, oh, we're just not going to cover that. That's insane. That's insane. It's cruel. And the people who run those systems and prop them up and defend them are evil. Like, full stop. You can't look at this story and be like, well, actually, they're doing good work. I mean, maybe this guy he's doing fine now. Maybe he didn't need the medication. Let's find out, shall we?
You were put on a lung list to get a new lung?
Yes, I was just about to be, we started having conversations about getting lung transplant, double lung transplant. So the thought of getting this medication that could stop my decline was everything to me. And it was devastating when I got the denial.
Yes, I can.
Because my sister had just received the medication, and I had used all the exact same information that she had used.
This is the highest volume I can achieve with this right now. Sorry.
Health insurance
To the same
company.
health insurance company, yes, United.
And she was doing well?
She was doing great. Her lung functions went up. She was clearing out the mucus in her lungs much easier as I was going the opposite direction.
About to get on the lung transplant list. So what did it take for this to turn around for you?
In the end,
these days in America, you have to go to the doctor and a lawyer when you're sick?
Absolutely, yes. It took a lot. I went to representatives, I went to doctors, I went to lawyers. I ended up finally going to health advocacy groups. The lawyer was helping, but in the end, the only thing that really got me the medication was it became a national story, and it was on the Today Show, and United Healthcare just happened to change their tune and then gave me the medication.
But can you explain what happened? The Today Show called United Healthcare and said, we're about to run this story?
Correct.
They
yes.
had denied you right up until then.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when the Today Show called,
yes.
they then called you and said it's going to be approved? If you don't go on the Today Show?
Absolutely, yes. There was.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, in order to get the life-saving treatment, he needed to, continue to be alive, at the risk of sounding redundant here. He needed to get the Today Show to drop the news story that they were going to run about how they had been denying him health care. This is evil. The only reason they allowed him to live is because he was about to go national news. It's not because they were providing services, it's because they didn't want to look bad. But if this story hadn't gotten up to the Today Show, they would have gladly let him die. Just for, another cent in the profits they pay out to their investors.
There's a caveat there. There was, the question that was posed to me was, do you want this medication or do you want your interview to run on Today Show? So I said, well, of course I want the medication, but it can't be contingent on an interview because they have my interview. They're going to do what they want to do. And so then there was negotiations, and then they finally came back and said, okay, you can have it and you can go on the Today Show. And, it's...
So this is what it takes, Elizabeth Benjamin. One of your steps was to go to Community Service Society. That's where you met Elizabeth Benjamin?
Right. Yes, yes. And honestly, when I went to her, after she got involved, the conversation started to change a little bit, but it still wasn't, they still weren't going to approve the medication.
Which at the end of the day, it's like, they started to get nervous because he began engaging with these community groups that could potentially serve as a bedrock of support and direct him into the appropriate channels to take action, and direct other people to support him. And that's when they started to change their tune, but it wasn't, immediately yes, we'll give you your medication. It was geez, you're really twisting our arm here. I mean, we can't get you the medication, but we'd really like to, and we just can't do it. I'm sorry. Just think of all those poor investors. And then finally, it was only when national news was about to cover it.
But at least she was able to get to some people that were able to maybe change the way they were looking at my case.
And Elizabeth, you too are a lawyer. You have several advanced degrees in public health and you have a law degree. This is what it takes in America today to not get on the lung transplant list?
It shouldn't take this, but unfortunately it does. What we know from the research is, well, first of all, we don't know very much at all, because there's been a total abrogation by all government to actually require health insurance companies to report how many denials they issue. Some states do, some states don't. At the federal level, they're required to capture this data, but again, some states refuse to participate or have not participated, including, unfortunately, our own New York State, because It's sort of required in the Affordable Care Act to report the number of denials and the reason for the denials, but that's a law that's not basically being honored in the breach. So what we do know from the states that do participate in this one sort of subset of, get it, 350 million claims, so that's a pretty big subset, is that about 17% of all claims are denied. What we also know is the rates of denial are wildly random. In one state, it's 2%. In another state, it's 49%. So it's completely random where you live and what's going on in terms of the regulation of insurance carriers. And the other last sad thing from that same data set that we know is that less than 0.1% of, so 0.1 of 1% of people appeal. So the first thing I would always say to a patient is appeal, 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 because eventually you will prevail, although poor Kevin had the hardest appeal I've ever seen.
But eventually you won't necessarily win, right?
You won't necessarily.
But explain.
Like, that's the thing, right? Like, you won't necessarily win. But luckily, we have tools like this ProPublica claim file requester tool that ProPublica put together, because they've been doing some fantastic reporting on health insurance in the United States. You are legally they are legally required to let you know and inform you why they denied your claim. This can be a piece of information that is very, very helpful in an appeal process. So in terms of like actually filing your appeal, this would be one of the first things you want to take a look at to figure out why they denied it. So I'm going to link this in chat. You can find it over at projects.propublica.org/claimfile. And it is potentially a tool that could save your life or the life of someone you love. So especially in America, where your healthcare is dependent on the whims of a company that is being run for profit. So keep that in mind. Bookmark this tab. Bookmark this address. Make sure you can find it again if you need to, because unfortunately we live in a system run by, frankly, evil bitches. And those evil bitches want you to die so that they can make more money. So let's maybe work together and see if we can help each other out in the face of that awful, awful system that we are all forced under.